This is Tony Barton on Watch Kansas. At the time of this recording, we have 49 days left until the most important election of our lifetime. Everything that I'm seeing, hearing, and watching tells me that this is true. Recently, we commemorated the horrific events of the 9/11 attack on our country. As I was listening to services honoring those who died in the destruction of the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, Flight 93, as well as law enforcement and other first responders that gave their lives that day, a thought occurred to me, one of which I'm sure has occurred to you as well. On that day, 9/11/2001, we were attacked by external terrorists, Al-Qaeda, who brought death and destruction in an attempt to break America and change who we are. Well, it didn't work. However, presently, we are under attack by internal domestic terrorists, BLM, Black Lives Matter, and ANTIFA, committing mayhem, violence, and destruction with the goal of not only burning down the systems, but to fundamentally transform America, who and what we are, into something else. I find it very difficult to see the difference. Neither are acceptable. And the present attack, it will not work either if we understand it and as Americans do everything we can to stand against it and preserve that which makes America the greatest nation on the face of the earth. What is the motivation behind all this turmoil, the root cause of all this violence and terrorism? I find it to be CRT, or critical race theory. You might have heard about it. Recently, it was in the news. Maybe you knew about it prior to. Nonetheless, President Trump ordered that CRT stop being used in the federal agencies. CRT was being used to train federal employees that America was a racist society and white people were at fault. Joe Pollack, a writer for Breitbart, had an article on this very topic. And what I want to do is just share a few of the quotes from his article. Critical race theory holds that the United States is racist by design because its Constitution and all of its other institutions emerged in a context where slavery was legal. In other words, because of slavery, our nation, our Constitution, and our institutions are illegitimate. However, the truth is, in spite of slavery, our nation, our Constitution, and institutions remain legitimate. Today, critical race theory is everywhere. It is the basis for the idea of systemic racism, meaning that racism is a part of the institutional structure of the United States. Elementary schools teach elements of CRT to children. Corporations assign readings on white privilege to their employees. Professional sports leagues encourage fans to support protests against systemic racism in our country. When rioters attack police, tear down statues, or demand submission from patrons in restaurants, they are motivated in part by CRT. And I will add this: when BLM and Antifa attack innocent people, those that choose not to support their cause, when they demand that you bend the knee or confess your supposed sin of whiteness, when they physically assault, hurt, maim, kill because of this lie of systemic racism, they are motivated by CRT. The irony of white people out rioting, being destructive in support of BLM, by the definition of CRT, you are racist just because you are white. You are considered white supremacists because you were born white and nothing you do can change that. Yet you're fighting white privilege and white supremacy, even though by CRT definitions, you are that very thing. It's like continually punching yourself in the face and then asking how your teeth got knocked out. Systemic racism, the idea that every institution in America is racist, is a lie. CRT, the idea that America is a racist country, is a lie. If either were true, explain to me how we have an Oprah Winfrey, the richest black woman in the world, a LeBron James, a Michael Jordan, General Colin Powell, who cheered the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, world-renowned brain surgeon, and now Secretary of HUD Ben Carson, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, the many other black athletes and entertainers, public officials and military leaders, black business owners, CEOs like the late Herman Cain, who was also a presidential candidate, Barack Obama, a black man who became the President of the United States. How, in a country and a society that is systemically and institutionally racist, would this ever be possible? What do these rich athletes and entertainers, public figures say to their own children? That they are not going to make it because our country is systemically racist? The question then becomes, how did you make it if the country is so racist in every area and in every way? How did you become who and what you are? What are we telling our children? What are we saying to our grandchildren? They have no hope, that the only thing left for them is the violence and mayhem and destruction that is taking place on the streets? That they must bend their knee and bow their hearts at the altar of a lie, that they must live their lives in fear because of the color of their skin? This isn't just a black issue. It now becomes the reality for people of all colors under the banner of BLM. Are we telling them that the country we live in, the United States of America, is nothing but a color-bound lie and they have no hope and no future? Are we telling them they are no longer living in the greatest country in the world, the one place, the last place with the most freedom and opportunity? What kind of an example are we setting? That when the lies and delusion is being forced upon us, that we did nothing but bend the knee because we were afraid to stand up. Unless, of course, you actually believe these lies. But I'm willing to speculate there are many, many more who do not. Ronald Reagan warned what would happen if we do not protect freedom. He said, freedom is no more than a generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same, or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. Can I speak to Americans regardless of your hue? It's not about color, but character. And the character of America is being assaulted. America is being bent. However, it will not be broken if Americans of all persuasions rise up against this socialist, Marxist onslaught. Our founding documents make it clear that we are not endowed by the state with inalienable rights, but that our rights come from God. Among these is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Stop bending the knee at the altar of BLM and stand. You are not the cause of this outrage, but every time you bend the knee out of a false sense of guilt or fear, each time your will is broken, you give these lies credibility, and you are being used for the mindless violence, terror, and destruction. It takes moral courage to stand. It doesn't mean you're not afraid. You are just saying the lies of systemic racism, CRT, as well as fear, will not define you. That freedom is worth fighting for the sake of our nation, our children, our children's children, and generations to come. Until next time, be courageous.
Hands on me again and I'll fuck you up, bitch. What? Hands on me again and I'll fuck you up.
There's no fucking bastards in this! Get the fuck out of here!
Sir, are you just getting back from the president's RMT speech?
Answer the fucking question! Fuck! Mr. Ager, how do you feel about the killing of black men in America? Excuse me.
Oops!
How do you feel about the killing of black individuals in America? Put your hands on me again, I'll fuck you up. Put your hands on me again and I'll fuck you up. Hands on me again and I'll fuck you up. Bitch, what? Hands on me again and I'll fuck you up. What?
How do you feel about abolition? That's serious. Proof. How do you feel about abolition?
Of black people in America!
Put your hands in the air, everybody.